So, if everything stays stable, we're back with Space Engineers again. Just having a little bit of trouble with the game crashing this afternoon. There's been an update which is marvellous, very pleased with their update, but so far it's crashed a couple of times when I've tried to stream. The most noticeable thing about the update is that we've now got music, and I'm so pleased about that. The Space Engineers music is really good. It's very atmospheric. Okay, and I'm just gonna mine a little bit of this wall. Hang on a second. No, I have got a spotlight. I was going to say I'm missing a spotlight. It's on the front there. Lights were brighter last week, but then backgrounds weren't as dim. No, backgrounds were more dim. That's what I meant to say. Let's go mine this wall. I've had so much fun this week. I've been really surprised by how much I've enjoyed streaming and how much I've enjoyed taking the videos that I made, taking the stream that I made last weekend and then turning it into videos this weekend. Sorry, no, all this week. Yeah, alright, let me try that one again. So last week I was streaming. Last weekend I was streaming, and then throughout the week I turned that stream into videos and posted the videos on YouTube. And I had a surprising amount of fun doing that. I can't tell you how much more fun that was than I'd imagined. It's really taken me by surprise. I didn't think I would really become a content editor, a content provider. I was just messing around really, but having found that I enjoyed it so much, I figured I'd do a bit more. And hey, why not? Oh, one of the questions that I was faced with last week, that was a quandary, if you like, was I'm very bad at names. I'm very bad at inventing names. So I needed to name my platform, because in order to identify which assembler is which cargo container is which, I need to be able to name them. Now, if something's on a ship, it's going to come with me if I fly off in the ship. But if something's on the platform, like a cargo container, and something's in that cargo container, it's not going to come with me if I set off on a ship. So I need to know where stuff is, and which of my cargo containers and which of my refineries are in which ship or on what platform. But I'm at risk of calling everything Platform 1, Platform 2, Ship 1, Ship 2, because I'm just no good at names. And last night it struck me, I thought, yeah, I know what I'll do, I know how I'll name these things. I'll name them after the people who inspired me to get involved in creating them. And that way I can spend a little bit of time talking about the people who actually got me into playing games again, because there's a story behind that, and who got me into creating content. So let's just see if you can see from here. No. My platform I'm calling Muckluck, and I'm calling it Muckluck after a YouTube Let's Player, and he's the first Let's Player I ever watched. So anyone who has noticed a little bit about me on any of on Steam or Twitter or any of the places where my name occurs will see that I've been around quite some time. I'm probably older than your mother, in fact. I've been a hardcore gamer. Now, I was going to say since the 80s, but that's an exaggeration. I was a hardcore gamer in the 90s. I wasn't really into the games so much in the 80s. They just weren't my kind of games. But I was gaming. So I can even remember my mum buying my dad Pong in the 70s. For people who don't know Pong, it was a very, very basic computer game that was revolutionary. And it's why we call games today video games, because it was before anybody had invented the personal computer. No one had a computer at home. You plugged the game. You bought it as a box. It was a black and orange plastic box that you plugged into your TV. And that box, we had the second generation Pong, which had more than one game. The original Pong was a simulation of tennis. So you had a square ball that bounced from one side of the screen to the other, and you had two players with two joysticks, and they each moved. The joystick would move a strip up and down the screen, and the aim was to get your strip, which represented the bat, in front of the ball, so that you prevented the ball from flying off your end of the screen. And it was vaguely reminiscent of tennis, I suppose. But it was a revolutionary moment because there hadn't been computer games before that, as far as I'm aware. I think it's the one that history remembers as being the first home computer game, or the home video game. It was a bit dull, and I played it a few times. Played against my dad a few times, but it was a novelty, and it got put away eventually. It's not something that will keep you entertained for any length of time. And it must have been a few years after that the ZX Spectrum was introduced to the UK, or was invented in the UK, not sure which. And that was the home PC, the one that had all the games. I wasn't allowed one of those. My parents recognised that home computing was an important thing, and that everybody should learn about computers because computers were the future. So good on them. I'm really pleased that they recognised that much, because a lot of people at the time thought that computers were fads. And my mother negotiated with me and my dad to buy us a joint Christmas present, because they were quite expensive. And we were going to have a joint Christmas present, which was a personal computer, a PC. But my mother didn't think that we should be going for a ZX Spectrum, which is what everybody else had, because that was a games machine. That was seen as a toy. And my mother, and I'm guessing my dad was behind this as well, thought that we should get something which was a proper machine, something which could be used in the home. And it's quite funny thinking back, because nobody knew what these things were going to be used for in the home, but every home should have one, and every home should have a machine that was more than a games machine, to do all those household tasks like balancing your budget. This is before anyone had invented a spreadsheet, so I'm not really quite sure how you were supposed to use it to balance your budget. But we ended up with going to Radio Shack, and we bought a Tandy TRS-80 because that was the serious home PC. That was more than just a games machine. Actually, it was a really poor games machine. There was very few games. I think we had maybe 2 or 3, and they were shocking quality. They weren't up to much at all, and games weren't something that I played on the good old TRS-80. But what it did do for me was it came with a very, very good how to program manual, and it taught me how to program in BASIC, and I discovered I liked coding. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was just writing my own games. It'd be little things, because I'm not an artist. I can't draw things. I can't design how things look. So most of my games were text games. They were based on the choose your own adventure type genre. I might have a little pixelated picture thrown on the screen to illustrate something, but it'd be nothing complex. But I thrilled in it. I used to love programming. So but that seemed to be something that you did for fun. So I was a hobby coder. It wasn't where my career went. It's not what I chose to do for a living. I don't really know why not. It was when my gaming started. Maybe if I'd have had a ZX Spectrum, I'd have been a hardcore gamer in the 1980s, when ZX Spectrum games were the way to go. But that wasn't to be, so I was a little late to the party. Then, in the 1990s, I was at university, and I think it was the Nintendo. I think Nintendo brought something out. There'd always been little handheld consoles, Luigi's Bottle Factory. I played that all one Christmas. That entertained me. That was the entertainment that I would have when I was visiting, grandmothers and aunties and people where there was grown-up conversations happening as a kid, where I wasn't. It was a way of keeping me entertained when I didn't have my normal toys around me as a kid. But not something I would do when I had other stuff. I like Lego and Meccano and building things. So at university I didn't have any of the first Nintendos in the early 90s. But then I remember playing a game called... I had a PC. I needed a PC. By this time Intel had invented its chip, and everything was IBM compatible. Windows had been invented, and of course we all through university, because I did mechanical engineering at university, so being a scientific sort of technical subject, I was certainly kept abreast of computer technology. And I played a game, I can't remember why I got hold of it. It was a game called Cruise for a Corpse, and it was a PC game. I think you loaded it from floppy disks. And if I tried playing it now, I'm sure it would be dreadful. But at the time, it was amazing. I'd never played anything like it, and it was my first adventure game. it was the first time I'd played a computer game that wasn't some sort of shoot 'em up. It wasn't a button presser. It was something where you had to remember where you'd been, what you'd done, what you'd seen. You had a mission to complete. It was just so very different to anything I'd played before, and that was it. I was hooked. At that point, I was hooked on computer games. I sat down at the PC and I played it for hours, and I got stuck somewhere. I never did complete the game. I got stuck somewhere, and I played it for hours. I did all the grind. I was running up. You were inside this cruise ship, and I was up and down and backwards and forwards, and I'd restarted the game and I played it over and trying to find the way forward. I mean, this was before the internet was I'm sure it was invented, but it wasn't widely available. If you wanted to, it wasn't somewhere where you went to get information, so you couldn't find, if you wanted to get a guide to help you in completing a computer game, you had to find the right magazine. You had to find a magazine that had done a Let's Play and told you step by step how to do it. You could even buy books for some of the more complicated games. People would publish books telling you how to complete them. There was a whole industry